let's move over and talk a little bit about some prospects, because 'tis the season, right? The summertime is when we like to dive into prospects a whole heck of a lot, and we've done that a lot really since the draft and development camp over the last couple of weeks. The Athletic's Scott Wheeler released his top prospect list, including a top 100 skaters and a top 20 goaltenders. So he separated those two. 3 Penguins receiving mention in these lists, the highest being Braden Yeager, the only skater to be ranked in the top 100 skaters, goes 58th overall. Joel Blomqvist makes the list for goaltenders at 15th overall, and Sergei Murashov doesn't make a list, but he does get honorable mention, the goaltender, or the Russian goaltender, honorable mention in the top 20 goalies category for the Athletic Scott Wheeler. What are your thoughts on these rankings? Did he miss anybody? Do you think somebody is being a little bit, disrespected, or do you think this is about right, that those are the 3 guys that you would expect to pop up in the national eye?
That sounds about right. I mean, you do consider where the Penguins prospect pool ranks. It's usually fairly low. And there have just been a ton of great prospects showing up in other teams across the NHL. And for the Penguins, I mean, yeah, they're adding, and they are super proud of the group that they have, and they have high expectations for the group that they have. This sounds about right. I'm actually a little surprised to see Murashov get a honorable mention like that, considering he was a 7th round pick and is just now reaching North America in a practice capacity. We'll see what the near future holds for him. But overall, I would say it doesn't surprise me. I'm not going to say a guy like Owen Pickering was wrongfully left off, or maybe some of those new draft picks were wrongfully left off. I'd say it all kind of filters out properly, because I didn't look at the list, but you have to consider the rest of the names on the list. When you look at Owen Pickering compared to number 100 on that list, who is going to have the better future, who is better right now, and what exactly, what was the thought process of Scott Wheeler going into it as well. So I'd say for the Penguins, it makes total sense that there's only those 3. Mm-hmm. Because again, just Owen Pickering's taken step backs, and I think he's the kind of guy we sit at, pretty highly in the Penguins prospect system that we have seen for a while, or have high expectations for. And also, just where do you put Sam Poulin these days? Again, he seems to have taken weird steps back, but maybe isn't considered a prospect anymore. So there's little pieces that go here and there, and other names are just escaping me right now. But I mean, Ponomarev and Koivunen, I think those are interesting ones. Maybe they could have squeezed on, because again, you have to look at the rest of the players and go, who would you consider to be better, I guess.
Yeah, I think Koivunen is one of the ones that I was a little surprised didn't make it towards, the 80s or 90s. But when you look at, you mentioned it, the Penguins have, for the last handful of years, have had the 30th to 32nd ranked prospect pool in the National Hockey League. This year, going into it, maybe up to like 26th or 27th, because they've done a lot of work over the last calendar year. But even the best prospect pools, your Carolina Hurricanes, I believe the Arizona Coyotes were on there, or the Utah Hockey Club now. But they only had 6. The most any team had was 6 in that top 100. Penguins have 1. You could argue could have had 2, but it makes a lot of sense for a team that is as low as they have been historically in the NHL's prospect rankings. And then one other little piece of just cleanup, Sergei Marshov, 4th round pick. So he does have a little bit more.
Why did I think 7th? Where did I get 7th from?
I don't know. I don't know. But 4th round pick in the, let me double check to make sure I got this right. The 2022 NHL draft. So shout out to Ron Hextall. He did one thing right.
Yeah, I'm just really confused where I got that from. I am stunned that I'm stupid. But
listen, there are too many players to remember where everybody got drafted, especially late in the draft.
Yeah, I at least know he came from Russia and had not really broken into North America, literally until this past prospect camp.
I was about to say, 14 days ago was the first time he stepped foot on North American soil. But I think the one thing that these rankings outline here is exactly where the strength of the Penguins prospect system is, and that's between the pipes. Mm-hmm. Pretty good thing for the Pens. I mean, historically, this has been an organization that likes to home grow their starting goaltenders. Marc-Andre Fleury led directly into Matt Murray, which led directly into Tristan Jarry, and that's where we stand right now. And you can argue with it, you can dispute it based on the way that Matt Murray's career has gone since he left Pittsburgh, the way that Tristan Jarry's career has gone over the last couple of seasons, but that has led to 3 Stanley Cups between 2 of those 3 goaltenders. So that's what the Penguins have historically liked to do. And you look at what they have now in Joel Blomqvist. A lot of people are excited to see if he gets to the NHL level this season. There's some people that are counting on him to get to the NHL left this season. And then Murashov, who's maybe a year, likely 2 years out. A lot of people are excited to follow his process as he makes the decision whether or not he wants to come over to North America this season or if he wants to stay over in Russia and play in the MHL/KHL, wherever he ends up landing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. It's just a matter of what opportunities are going to be provided to him. We know he's going to have a good future ahead of him, and we'll just see where it goes. Pulling up the overall, by the way, list of draft picks from the Penguins in the last however many years, it's a depressing look. It is a depressing look seeing that, at least in the 2020 draft, Joel Blomqvist is there. Calle Klang was traded away.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Svedkowski, I believe, was just traded.
Yep.
Ravis Ansons, I think, also just had his contract terminated, and Chase Yoder currently doesn't have a contract. So there's the entire 2020 draft for the Penguins. The most recent draft pick to play for the Penguins, if you're just going in pure order, is 2019, Sam Poulin and Valtteri Puustinen.
Yeah.
Everyone since then has not yet reached the NHL.
Well,
there's been some weird obviously COVID happened in between there, taking a lot of time away from these kids, but also some of these names you're never going to hear again.
I mean, the Penguins haven't had very many first-round picks since then either. The only 2 are Owen Pickering and Braden Yeager. Right. So, again, and you don't expect Yeager to have already been in the NHL, and you don't expect a young defenseman that needs to fill out his body like Pickering to be able to be in the NHL already. I mean, Pickering's taken a huge step this year, turning pro and playing against, professionals for an entire, 72 games down at the American Hockey League level, I believe. But an entire Owen Pickering?
No, he stayed in Swift Current all year.
This year he's going to turn
pro. This year he will. Yes, this year he will.
This year he's turning pro. And he's going to go up against, AHL talent and grown men for really the first time for an extended period. So I'm not gonna bash on the Penguins because they've also haven't had very many opportunities to draft in those certain drafts. And also you don't expect 7th rounders from 2022 to be able to play in 2023, 24. So, when I look at the Penguins prospect system, I think we've all had the same general belief is Kyle Dubas has done some pretty good work in the first, 13 months since taking over the reins in Pittsburgh, but that shows you in the national eye and when compared to the other 31 NHL teams, how much work is left to be done for the Pittsburgh Penguins to actually have a prospect system that is garnered and considered one of the at least top half in the National Hockey League.